And we continue at 107 in the afternoon. Talk Radio 790 KABC, the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
John, last week, former Congresswoman and candidate for Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee attended a forum presented by Oakland's Side, which was a very pro-Sheng Tao publication. And in this first clip, Barbara Lee reminded me of a different Barbara.
Miss Barbara Lee, we will start with you.
Thank you very much, and good evening. Is this on? Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you very much. Good evening.
She has tech issues.
I have tech issues.
I think Barbara Stone is the only Barbara who doesn't have tech issues.
Dear Lord.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. One of the things that we've learned after the fires destroyed Pacific Palisades in Altadena is that the government doesn't spend a lot of time making sure the infrastructure is up and running, making sure that the fire department has all of the trucks that they need, has all of the equipment that they need, that there's water in the fire hydrants, that the police have the ability to staff the 911 system, and they have the ability to respond to emergency calls if needed. We should be asking ourselves those questions on a regular, ongoing basis, because you never know when you're going to need public safety services until you need them. And if you're not prepared, we're now familiar with what kind of damage and destruction you can experience. However, after learning how flat-footed we were caught all through the fires, it appears, Randy, that we've learned absolutely nothing.
Look at what's going on in the Bay Area. Oakland's dealing with closing fire stations because they screwed up the budget. And in San Francisco, a bunch of police cars are so old and dilapidated with broken computers they barely work.
Let's start with the police cars being broken down.
For more on that, we go to ABC 7 in the Bay Area.
Tonight, we're hearing concerns from San Francisco police officers over the department's aging vehicle fleet.
ABC 7 News anchor Dion Lim joins us live from the newsroom with documentation of the problem. Dion.
Dan and Amma, this is a story that ABC 7 has been following for years. We first reported on this back in 2017, and officers are...
And shocker, nothing's been done about it.
It's almost as if they don't care.
And officers are still raising concerns about the number of vehicles being out of service. But images I obtained illustrate...
How fast can those officers run to chase the criminals?
You better buy them some Nikes.
But images I obtained illustrating the problems with the fleet are concerning, especially if the problem doesn't appear to be getting better.
And it's just hysterical to me. We're in San Francisco, right? All this tech stuff is happening, but we have computer issues.
That is embarrassing.
They should have Barbara Ferrer explain that they have tech issues.
I have tech issues.
Computer issues are far from the only problem with San Francisco Police's aging fleet of vehicles. SFPD tells me out of 357 marked vehicles, 57 are out for service or in need of repair.
That's like, what, one-sixth?
How do they respond to any 911 call?
But the police union says that number is much higher. Through multiple sources, I obtained images from most of the city's 10 police stations, illustrating the poor conditions of some cruisers. This whiteboard from Park Station shows 7 cars in need of repair, everything from broken seatbelts to windows.
What do you need those for?
Yeah, it's like the 1970s all over again up there.
Another 5 are out of service entirely, one even reading no computer, no siren, and much more.
What good is it?
Was that car totaled? Was that Roscoe's car from the Dukes of Hazzard?
If you are an SFPD officer and you need to pull somebody over and your siren doesn't work, do you just kind of have to roll down the broken window and go, woo, 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 woo?
Yeah, you're not going to look like a rapist if you do that.
One even reading no computer, no siren, and much more. At another station, the board lists 12 vehicles with problems. One reportedly died while driving.
Oh, my. Hey, can I get a jump?
Imagine you're in hot pursuit and the car just shuts down.
Scrawled at the top, why is everything broken?
And it's California, so we can't fix it. It just is what it is.
Why is everything broken?
There's a drop.
You're just, I don't know, a brake pad away from something happening, right? Because of the maintenance.
With so many unusable vehicles, multiple sources.
You know this is happening at every single police agency in every major city in the state.
Yes, and if you're the police union, why aren't you screaming about this? Because ultimately, it's your members who are going to be put in harm's way due to it.
With so many unusable vehicles, multiple sources told me officers are sometimes unable to leave the station, causing a public safety problem.
I got no car. You're going to have to help yourself out.
They may go back to putting the cops back on horses up there.
If we don't have cars, it's harder for us, obviously, to respond. You don't want cops sitting in the station, right, when they could be out patrolling, right, and especially at night.
I asked SFPD if the state of the fleet prevents officers from responding to crime. Their response, no.
I don't know about that.
Well, it may not prevent them from responding to crime, but it may prevent them from responding in a expedient manner.
You're being robbed at the Embarcadero? Hold on, let me take Muni.
Yeah, there's a big difference if they show up within 5 minutes or they show up next Tuesday.
They continued to say, as the department's fleet vehicles ages out, the department works to acquire the newest and state-of-the-art vehicles to ensure officers and the community are safe.
How's that working out?
Wait, how old are these cars? So in San Francisco, you rob a bank and you jump in your getaway car and you have a Model T chasing after you?
Another possible reason for the delay is SFPD vehicles are serviced by the city's central shops, meaning repairs can't be made by just any mechanic in the city.
Of course, it's more bureaucracy.
It's real.
Shangy, you were right.
The bureaucracy is real.
Are serviced by the city's central shops, meaning repairs can't be made by just any mechanic in the city. This is certainly a story we'll continue to follow. In the newsroom, Dion Lim, ABC 7 News.
There you go. SFPD has a bunch of dilapidated old cop cars.
So in San Francisco, there are no police cars, or there are not enough police cars who are fully operational around to respond to the emergency calls. And then, Randy, you go across the bay into Oakland, where we know they've experienced fires, especially up in the hills where you have a lot of brush, and they don't have enough operational fire stations.
Oakland City Council this week will be voting to see if they have enough money to maybe keep some of these fire stations open just a few months longer as they face a massive, massive, massive budget deficit, in no small part thanks to her.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good work, girl boss.
You know, they still haven't seen a dime from that Coliseum deal.
Of course not. What did she sell that Coliseum for anyway? A bunch of magic beans and some Elvis collectible plates and Star Trek Signature Series mugs?
For more on the battle to keep Oakland fire stations open, here's KPIX.
People in Oakland may be relieved to hear that 4 fire stations slated for closure could be saved tonight.
Yeah, they closed 2 at the beginning of the year, and they were all set to close 4 more, which means they're definitely not responding this summer when someone melts a basketball court with fireworks.
Oh, my God, they melted the basketball court.
And you notice what he said there. He didn't say they're going to remain open. He said they could remain open.
Some council members say they have found $8 million to keep them open. And now the city council is set to vote on whether or not to spend the money.
By the way, that money was in a liability fund that it turns out the city didn't get sued as much as they thought they were going to last year, so they had an extra $8 million.
Oh, give it time. When Shane goes to trial and we find out about all the illegal things that she did, there will be more lawsuits against that city.
You know, that's what a mayor do.
That is what mayor do.
And now the city council is set to vote on whether or not to spend the money to spare the stations and reopen 2 that have already been temporarily closed. But as John Ramos reports, it does not mean more tough decisions won't be coming.
This is Fire Station 25, one of the locations recently closed for budget cuts. The good news is they may have found the money to reopen it, but it doesn't solve the larger budget problem, which is now starting to pit one group of city workers against another.
I bet you we could find some city workers that are non-essential outside of firefighters and police.
Yeah, but before we do that, it's going to be the Hunger Games up there.
The numbers are daunting. The budget deficit stands at $129 million in a city where the vast majority of money goes to paying workers, especially those who work in public safety jobs. So when fire stations 25 and 28 went dark in January, Councilmember Janani Ramachandran says the public reaction was immediate.
I do like that name, Janani Ramachandran.
There is 0% chance I can pronounce it.
When these brownouts went into effect in January of this year, the communities across Oakland were outraged, and we listened to that outrage.
You couldn't have anticipated that outrage?
By the way, every time you talk to your constituents, all you must hear is outrage.
Here's one of them.
It's wild, wild west out here.
Pretty much.
That guy calls the radio station every now and then.
I love it.
She and council members Rebecca Kaplan and Zach Unger began searching for money and found about $8 million in different places.
They checked all the couch cushions.
They're
going to need more couches.
That could be put toward reopening the fire stations. That's what's before the council tonight.
The message from the Oakland community has been loud and clear. While there's a lot of competing interest for limited dollars, nothing trumps public safety, and fire stations are the bread and butter of public safety.
You know what? We could probably keep those fire stations open for a long time if we got rid of the gang member life coaches.
Well, this is all about the complete failure that is Karen Bass. They're looking at her as this once popular politician who's about ready to see the end of her political career because she cut the budget of the fire department right before the fires hit. They all know that if there's a fire that hits Oakland and they shut down a bunch of fire stations due to budget cuts, it's their keister that's on the line.
But the money would only keep the stations open until June, when the new fiscal year begins. And the cuts that could be coming will likely be...
So just as we get to those 100-degree days, it's going to be no fire stations for you.
Well, at least they're planning ahead.
And the cuts that could be coming will likely be even deeper.
They're going to close 6 fire stations in July. At what point do you decertify this city? They cannot run as a functional body.
Every so often, the state will do that, where they'll step in and they'll run a city or they'll run a school district or they'll just take something totally over. And I would imagine if you're the state, you're looking at all the problems in Oakland and you're saying to yourself, I don't want any part of that.
The various employee unions, including the firefighters, blame the city for mismanagement, but they also point to more than $50 million of overspending by the police department, much of it going to pay overtime to officers.
Because they're super duper short-staffed.
Yes, if you staff them adequately, you won't pay as much money in overtime.
But how do you staff them adequately when nobody wants to work at Oakland Police?
You'll have to make it more attractive.
How do you do that?
What am I, the answer man?
It's a lot of crime now.
But police union head Hui Nguyen says that's only happening because the force has lost about 25% of its officers over the years, while the number of calls for help has grown.
That's why they just stopped answering the phone.
Press 1 for English. Click.
Issues of blaming us for the problem. The problem is that city leadership needs to adequately staff the police department and also provide the number of funding that it should be so we can provide service, or make some really tough decision to cut the services that we're providing. And I don't think anybody's willing to do that.
What is the budget for the Oakland Department of Violence Interruption and all of these other things that they established when they were working on defunding the police? This is something that's going on here in L.A., something that's going on in San Francisco and Oakland. You have all of these new agencies that now exist that need funding that are stripping the funding that is needed for the essential agencies like police and fire.
But the problem with cutting those departments is that they're not there because they work or ever have worked. They're there for ideological reasons. if you were to eliminate them from the budget and say, we don't need this, it's not working, you would have to acknowledge that there's a flaw in your ideology, and I don't see any of them doing that.
But it does seem like they're...
No, I mean, you look at Barbara Lee, who's running for mayor. She wants to double down on all of those things.
But it does seem like they're willing to cut the fire department. So doesn't that pit you against them in some ways when it comes to the budget?
I mean, we look at the numbers and we look at the percentage of money that's being spent. And you look at the fire department percentage of how much they spent in overtime.
How come whenever we talk about all these budget cuts, the city council never offers to take a salary cut?
Oh, that's never going to happen.
In fact, when Shang got put into office, the first thing the city council did was gave her a raise.
Well, and it's not just the big cities. Some of these small cities where you assume that members of the council or members of the school board, where they're essentially volunteer positions, you get a nominal salary, but it's not enough to pay all your bills. Some of them get paid quite handsomely, full-time salaries, to sit on councils in relatively small cities. It really can be a racket.
Of how much they spent in overtime compared to the percentage on how much we are spent. The overall number is bigger by numbers, but the percentage is greater into the fire department.
But the firefighters union president, Seth Ollier, says their overtime is the result of more than 80,000 annual calls for service at a time when stations are being shut down.
Part of that is, and this is true, when Oakland was going through their massive 911 crisis that still isn't over, where 911 wouldn't answer or would put you on hold or hung up on you, word got around on the Nextdoor apps and the Citizen apps that if you call your fire station directly, they'll send an ambulance.
Well, you can't blame the people. If you have an emergency, you need someone to respond to it right away. But again, this is a problem with staffing. This is a problem with budgeting. This is a fundamental problem in that city that's not going to be fixed unless you change the people you're electing.
The Oaklanders will die if they have to wait for emergency services. That is a fact. Houses will burn to the ground. This is not me being melodramatic. These are facts. As far as pitting one group against one another, this is a zero-sum game. There is only so much money to go around. And yes, if it was up to me, I would keep every station fully staffed and open. That is my goal.
At this point, it's a problem without a real solution. All departments will likely take a hit when the budget axe finally swings. The employee unions accuse the city of mismanagement, but Oakland's fiscal hole comes from having more workers than it can afford, no matter how valuable they may be.
That problem's going to get worse before it gets better.
And let's address the issue of overstaffing. How is it that they're overstaffed if they don't have time and they don't have personnel to respond to, Kias being stolen and being driven through the side of a building so they can rob what's inside the building? And you're told to just fill out a form online. The amount of crime that's going on in that city is so ridiculous that even a police department that they regard as being overstaffed can't respond to all of it, because who can? You have to put like half that town in jail to try to get it back to normal. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, now that we've hit the halfway point of today's show, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is go to KABC.com, click on podcasts, go to the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can do a Google on the YouTube or get that handy-dandy KABC app. Search KABC AM in the Apple App Store or the Android Store. It's the easiest way to listen live to this radio station and download all the podcasts. You can keep them all to yourself, or you can share them with your friends. You got friends in San Francisco? Send them today's 1 o'clock hour and let them know about all the dilapidated police cars.
Why is everything broken?
And right now it's time to open up the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, like many of the previous editions of the Crime Blotter, this one does involve a cashier.
This cashier was no dummy, This cashier had a gun in his face, so he held up his hands and said, "Don't shoot." And the jackass shot anyway.
But the cashier survived.
That's right.
There are no dead cashiers in this story.
We would not bring you this story if the cashier died.
If the cashier is dummy.
But we're also bringing you this story because it is narrated by the one and only Ed Laskos. Fox 11, take it away.
To attend a terrifying night at a local gas station leaves an employee injured after...
You know, I was driving through In-N-Out Burger today, and they have a sign. Now hiring. Starting pay $22 an hour. You can make up to $26 an hour. Why is anyone working at a gas station when you are so likely to get robbed and you're never likely to get robbed at In-N-Out Burger?
Especially during the graveyard shift.
To attend a terrifying night at a local gas station leaves an employee injured after getting shot at point-blank range. The clerk's family is sharing the clerk's story with us. Let's go live to La Puente, where Fox 11's Ed Laskos has more for us tonight. Ed.
Terrifying is right. Terrifying for the clerk at that gas station over there. Terrifying when you think about being targeted by an armed robber. And then you've got the clerk. He's got his hands up like this saying, "Don't shoot." Hands up like this, so you would think the gunman would not shoot. Think again.
I mean, he has to. It's Ed Laskos.
Again, the cashier lived.
No wonder they're calling this gunman a demon.
A demon, you say?
Sounds like one to me.
No wonder they're calling this gunman a demon. Watch.
When the sun is down, the demons are out. You know what I mean? That's how it is.
Yo.
Again, In-N-Out Burger is hiring.
Sadly, his brother Miguel found that out face to face with this demon. Look, Miguel even has his hands up, and still he's shot.
My brother had his hands up, and he was walking towards the register, but I think the guy did get a little scared. He almost seemed like he was going to try to grab the gun from the guy, but that's when he fired.
Miguel is down, writhing in...
Shooting a cashier over what, $200? Some cigarettes?
Some cigarettes, yep.
Yeah.
Miguel is down, writhing in pain. He's bleeding. The gunman panicking.
He panicked very hard. He seemed like he was scrambling, going back and forth, and he didn't take no money.
No money, with the gunman running off to his getaway car. Violence that has rocked this neighborhood a few blocks off Valley Boulevard, gunning down an unarmed man who even has his hands raised in the air.
Isn't that the international sign for don't shoot?
You'd think so, but apparently that gunman... he was not a pro.
The moral of this story, unfortunately, is don't work at a gas station, ever.
The bullet shot right through his hand, out the palm, into his chest, through his lung, to his back.
Oh, my God.
It's one hell of a bullet.
That sounds like the bullet that killed Kennedy.
This is Miguel now, days after the shooting. He's still in the hospital. He's still in a lot of pain after doctors finally able to remove this bullet. Looks like a .45 caliber. Miguel telling his brother now, why did he even have to shoot?
Oh, man, he was all like, I wish you would have let me give him the money. You know, like, really, like, why did he shoot? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we do, and...
well, meth.
They need the stolen merchandise and stolen cash to be able to buy more meth.
Yeah, we do.
And when you're on meth, you're super paranoid. So when you're holding a gun, you're more likely to shoot it, even when someone is no threat to you.
Yeah, we do. And we know, as he says, to the demons, there's no price for life.
Nowadays, people will kill for $10, $20. You know, you don't know if they're on drugs or not. You know,
I think we know that they're on drugs.
Yeah, that's a definite.
You know, you can never be too sure.
Whew, well, how sad is that, huh? Now live, the Sheriff's Department out tonight confirming they have made an arrest. The alleged gunman in custody. He's off the streets. As for Miguel, the doctor's expecting him to be okay eventually to make a full recovery, but he's still got a long road ahead, lots of pain ahead. The family set up a GoFundMe page if you'd like to help with that recovery. For now, we are live. La Puente, back to the west side we go.
There you go. Gas station clerk gets shot at point-blank range and lives. And the most shocking thing about the story, L.A. County Sheriff's made an arrest.
And what's weird is La Puente is not a bad area. It's not like we're talking about a 7-Eleven next to the Coliseum here.
At some point, you've robbed all those. You got to expand your boundaries.
And so they go out to eastern L.A. County. When this cashier recovers, do you think he's going to go back to his old shift?
I certainly hope not. Again, In-N-Out Burger, $22 an hour. I guarantee you the gas station's not paying that. And you are putting your life on the line every day for what? Some Slim Jims?
No, thank you. And it's time to reopen the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, this edition takes us to Northern California.
There was a robbery in Orinda where the jackasses pepper sprayed the customers. For more, here's NBC Bay Area.
A boutique in Orinda was the target of a terrifying smash and grab over the weekend. Not only did the thieves steal some valuable merchandise, but they pepper sprayed innocent bystanders. Here's NBC's Jody Hernandez.
For more than 2 decades, Hilton House Home Consignments has been selling one-of-a-kind treasures. The owner never imagined they'd be targeted by some cruel thieves.
Can you imagine, Randy, if you're going out with the missus shopping over the weekend and she says, I want to take you to an antique place. And you say, oh, come on, I don't want to look at that junk. And she goes, no. There's some real finds over here. I think you'll really enjoy it. No, I don't want to go. I want to stay at home. I want to watch television. No. We're going antiquing. So then, fine. She twists your arm. You go antiquing. And the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is that you get maced while you're there.
What's the aftermarket here? This guy's going to steal a bunch of old antiques and sell them on eBay?
I don't know, but it seems like they enjoyed pepper spraying the customers.
Well, we've been in business 25 years. Nothing has ever happened to us before like this, ever.
But this high-end Orinda consignment store became the target of some bold and aggressive thieves this past Saturday.
5 people came bombing into the store with hammers and broke all of our cases.
This is quite a crew for antiques.
Yeah, this is like Ocean's 11 stuff here.
5 people came bombing into the store.
Hey, get that cookie jar. It's from 1934.
Hey, I see an I Love Lucy lunchbox over there. Go get that.
With hammers and broke all of our cases and stole all of our jewelry.
As customers were casually browsing, 5 men stormed in, immediately pepper spraying staff and shoppers in the face.
I don't think the customers were going to stop you. They were scared enough with the hammers. So you pepper spraying them is you being an emboldened a-hole.
Okay, this is going to sound harsh, Randy, but I'm going to say it anyway. If your spouse bullies you into going antiquing on the weekend, they deserve to get maced and you don't.
Then taking their hammers and smashing the jewelry cases before running out with more than...
I'm going to send this story around to all my friends. This is why you shouldn't go to tchotchke shopping.
Before running out with more than $100,000 in jewelry.
Rings, one of a kind, estate pieces, diamonds, rubies, emeralds, diamond earrings.
I think it's a travesty. It's horrible. These people are so awesome. They've been here forever, friendly. I hate to hear things like this that happen. It's really devastating.
Shoppers are outraged. They say it's something they just don't expect in quiet Orinda.
Yeah, but you're still in the East Bay.
Now, because this is radio and we can't see these people, were they all wearing real dark sunglasses because their eyes were all red from getting pepper sprayed?
I would imagine so.
The owner has set up a GoFundMe to help them make up the losses and repair the damage.
Wait, all that stuff wasn't insured?
Well, I think she set up the GoFundMe for the Visine they're all going to need.
And repair the damage.
You think you live in a wonderful neighborhood and people work hard for their money, and you have people and thieves who do things like this. It's ridiculous.
Going to donate to their GoFundMe account, and hopefully the city will rally around them and support them, and we'll get this all fixed.
The owner says she'll need all the support she can get to stay afloat. She says the smash and grab has left her staff shaken and she hopes the robbers are caught.
It's terrifying. Terrifying.
There's an In-N-Out Burger in the East Bay. You could work there instead of the antique shop, and you're less likely to get pepper sprayed.
Boy, you're just becoming a walking, talking ad for In-N-Out Burger's employment department, aren't you?
It just seems like a really safe job compared to all the other retail jobs out there.
You would think, though, working at an antique store in Orinda, that you're not going to be maced and having burglars descend through your windows.
Well, this is what happens when all the stores are closed in Oakland and there is no longer anyone to rob in Oakland. Those criminals got to go somewhere, so now they're going to all the small little towns like Orinda.
Wouldn't it be something if this happened on the day that they were going to do their staff photograph? And in the staff photograph, it happened after they all got maced. They all look like Ray Charles.
It's terrifying. Terrifying. These guys don't even care. These guys or girls don't even care. And they're on the young side. They're young.
In Orinda, Jody Hernandez.
You know she wanted to say they were whippersnappers.
Oh, I'm sure she wanted to say a whole lot.
In Orinda, Jody Hernandez, NBC Bay Area News.
There you go, the Orinda pepper sprayers.
Is nothing sacred? We do these stories about the 7-Elevens getting robbed all the time, the smoke shops getting robbed all the time, the pot shops getting robbed all the time. Sometimes it's restaurants that do cash business, they get robbed. But I believe this is the first antique shop we've done that's been robbed.
It won't be the last.
Of course not. Not here. What are you going to do? Randy, what do you say we take a call here before the top of the hour?
Let's start with John in Long Beach. John, hello.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good.
Sorry, I'm out in the rain, but I'm going to be in my car in about 10 seconds.
You want to call us back?
But I wanted to start out with a joke. You guys want to hear a joke?
Not really.
Oh, it's pretty funny.
Okay, now you're overselling it. Give it to us.
Okay. The Department of Government Efficiency just found out that they spent $2 million on why crickets have restless leg syndrome.
That's the joke?
Then they discovered another $2 million to see why fish get thirsty.
Thank you for the call.
Let's see if Michael can do any better. Michael in L.A. Michael, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, I wanted to comment about these young hoodlums doing the robbery. I wanted to comment first about the cashier that was robbed. What you're dealing with a bunch of young kids who play video games, who grew up playing video games, and their examples of being a man or being a tough guy is rap videos and video games like Grand Theft Auto. So in their minds, they're playing out a real-life video game when they do what they do. That's why when the perpetrator or the suspect was at fear for his own safety when the man approached him going towards the cash register, that's why he shot him, because they're a bunch of, for lack of a better word, punks. And they're not real gangsters. They're not real criminals. They're just seekers of opportunity. And when you have a situation like the antique store, those stores are being robbed by youngsters who don't know anything, and they basically live by the same factors I just stated. So what you got to look for is an older hoodlum or nuisance or thug who is orchestrating crimes like that. They go in, they case the joint, and they get the youngsters to do it because they know if the youngsters get caught, they're not going to go to jail.
We know that's the truth.
And you're dealing with
Well, thank you so much for the call. We're up against a hard break here. I think there's a lot of truth to what you said. Life seemed to be a whole lot better and safer when the kids were playing Super Mario Brothers. Grand Theft Auto has given them all kinds of ideas of grandeur. We've got one more hour coming up on the John Phillips Show right here on Talk Radio 790 KABC.